This evening, Tuesday the 29th of June, Council met here in Lakes Entrance for a very important unscheduled Council meeting to consider items relating to the draft Council plan and the draft Council budget. There was a different process involved in the development of these important documents this year. The Local Government Act 2020 requires all councils in Victoria to meaningfully consult with the community through a process called deliberative engagement. And for us, this process began in December 2020, which was quite soon after the elections, and continued until May this year. It included a community survey, face-to-face and online engagement and workshops, and the formation of a community panel. About 470 people had input to the development of Council's key guiding documents. And just to say a few words about the community panel that was formed, 15 people with diverse interests and backgrounds from across our vast shire agreed to participate in this process on a voluntary basis. They attended 7 workshops, digested large amounts of information, and in a series of feedback sessions provided input directly to Council about what the community sees are the most important issues and directions for us to take to create the sorts of futures we all want to see in East Gippsland. So I think it's important to thank those 15 people, thank them for saying yes to the challenge and responsibility of engaging in that process and for being so diligent in your work. I must say it was always a pleasure for Council to receive periodic progress reports from that group along the way. I'd also like to thank the facilitator and Council staff who guided that process. It was a new process and I think a very valuable one. So those thoughts, ideas and inputs, along with all the other ideas and inputs from other community members who engaged in other ways, have resulted in the adoption tonight of 5 key documents. Firstly, our Community Vision 2040, which is a new document. Secondly, the East Gippsland Shire Council Plan 2021 to 2025, and 3 other documents which Council adopted this evening. The Annual Action Plan, which falls out of the Council Plan, the Budget for 21-22, a 10-year Financial Plan, that's another new document, and the 4-year Revenue and Rating Plan, which is also a new document. So just to say a little bit about our Community Vision, the first and most foundational document. It's a 16-page document, so I strongly encourage people to have a look at that and to read it. And this is what it says. In 2040, our people, place, environment and economy will be connected, in balance and resilient. Our unique and diverse communities will be accessible, inclusive, well-connected and safe. We will value and care for each other and our natural environment. Our economy will support existing and emerging industries by being agile, innovative and sustainable. So in that community vision, there are also 4 key priority areas: our communities, our place, our environment and our economy. And under each one is listed the things that we value most and what our priorities are. So that's the first document. The next one was the East Gippsland Shire Council Plan for 21 to 25 and the Annual Action Plan, which falls out of that. So the Council's plan begins with a vision, and it says, East Gippsland is an inclusive and innovative community that values our natural environment, puts community at the centre of council decision making and creates the conditions in which communities can thrive. So this is directly derived from the community's vision, as are the 5 strategic objectives in the council plan, and they identify how council will contribute to the community's vision through a series of strategies which sit below the 5 strategic objectives. Then, breaking each strategy down further, the action plan identifies in more detail the work Council will be focusing on in the next 12 months. Who will be taking primary responsibility for that work and how success will be measured and reported. So again, I encourage people to read these documents. The Council plan is 36 pages, the action plan is 16 pages, and people will then be able to understand how they clearly outline how Council intends to prioritise and serve our community during its Council term. So having set out Council's direction through these foundational documents, the next critical step is to provide the budget which will fund that important work. So the budget 21 to 22 is a 110-page document full of really important information which has been arrived at with input from the community panel, a series of 5 community sessions across the Shire, and a series of workshops with councillors led by our finance department. There were some important considerations in setting the budget for the next 12 months. Obviously, there have been some challenging events in recent years for our communities: drought, bushfires, and COVID. Understanding that the impacts of those events have not been universal, but affected some sectors and places more than others. The Minister for Local Government set a rate cap of 1.5%, and Council has now determined to increase the general rates and municipal charge by 1.5% in line with this benchmark. Differential rates for commercial, industrial properties will remain at 145% of the general rate, and farming properties will remain at 80% of the general rate. That's where that differential is set. However, farming properties will benefit from a proportionally applied share of a $600,000 rebate. Of course, there will be variations to individual rate assessments as a result of annual property valuations by the Valuer General, and Council doesn't control those valuations. There will be estimated change in revenue from rates and the municipal charges from the 2021 year to the 21-22 year for the 3 classes of properties. 0.8% increase for residential properties, a 3.2% decrease for commercial industrial properties, and a 13.13% increase for farming properties. Important for people to remember that there continue to be a number of programs and initiatives available to support people most impacted by challenging events that have occurred over the last few years. A very significant capital works program is proposed in the next 12 months to the value of $88.759 million. The papers in the budget documents will show an estimated surplus for the 2021-22 year as being $35.735 million. However, a timing issue for the significant Victorian Grants Commission payment for 2021-2022 of $8.4 million will cause an estimated underlying result of $7.362 million deficit for this coming year. Another new document I mentioned was the 10-year financial plan for 2021-22 to 2030-31, and of course this is also linked to the 4-year council plan and the budget document, but provides a long-term view and indicates council's financial sustainability into the future. This document will be updated annually to ensure that it's as current and accurate as possible. And then completing the suite of key documents adopted by Council this evening is the 4-year revenue and rating plan for 2021 to 2025. And this is a medium-term plan with more detail on the long-term financial plan, and it's an important element of Council's integrated strategic planning framework. It looks at the 8 different revenue streams from Council, their percentage of total income as a basis, and is a basis for planning for the delivery of all of Council's services, programs and projects. So all of these plans relate to one another and provide an integrated strategic approach. and I do encourage people, once again, to read them. When read together, the 5 documents provide a really good understanding of how Council will prioritise and fund its work for our communities in the next 4 years, in service provision, infrastructure, in supporting recovery and resilience, and creating the conditions in which communities can thrive, as articulated in Council's and the community's vision statements. The adoption of these key documents marks a key milestone in Council's work. It's important to recognise, I think, and appreciate all the work that it's taken to get to this point. So once again, I would like to thank all the community members who had input into the development of these documents. I would also like to thank my fellow councillors for their keen engagement in the process. I'd like to acknowledge the CEO for his leadership and the executive team and all those staff who've contributed so much time, care and effort to get to this point. Thank you, everybody. The next meeting of Council will be on Tuesday the 13th of July at the Corporate Centre in Bairnsdale at 6 o'clock.